Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to come on here and talk to you all about Mary Magdalene, about why today is such an important day to tap into that energy as we are on the precipice of Leo season, moving away from Cancer season. This connection point, hi if you're just joining, this connection point between the water and the fire, the intuition and the transformation. And this is really an alchemical time to tap into your intuition and transmute any energies that are keeping you in a lower state, in a lower frequency. I'm going to be talking here for a little bit, so if you can't stay for the whole thing, just know it will be posted to my YouTube and you can find it there. If you are here, please say hello in the chat. If you're on the live, and only on the live, and you would like a card at the end of this for this pathway, for this portal, for this energy, this higher frequency that wants to come through you, just type your first name into the chat and I will be pulling cards at the end. So hi, if you're just joining, we're going to be talking about Mary Magdalene, where this is showing up in your chart and what it speaks to, and also this transition point, because every year at this time, we are on the cusp of Leo season, the fire, the fixed fire from the cardinal water. And this is a very important time to transmute, transcend, and become your own magician in your life. The card that I pulled for us all today, anyone who's watching, is the Magician card. And as you can see, she has the energy of the planets behind her. She is pointing up at the sky with her wand, and she is tapped into the infinity symbol, which is the symbol of eternity. And really, this is the energy that we want to tap into. We are just here. Hi. Hi, Kara. Thank you for being here. Hi, Mary. Hi, Sima. Hi, Mariah. I don't know if you're all here, but if you're here and you'd like a card at the end, just type your first name in the chat, and I will be looking back through these and checking in to make sure you're still here. Let me take a sip of tea. So if you don't already have your chart up and you have access to pull it up while you're watching this, that's really going to help you. If you don't, that's okay. You can always look at it later. What we're really looking at here is this last 3 degrees of Cancer and the first 3 degrees of Leo, and where this shows up in your natal chart. Wherever this shows up in your natal chart is where you carry this energy of the magician, where you carry this energy of the alchemist, the transformation, the transmutation, the capacity to bring the fire to the people, to warm the people, to combine that water with the warmth of Leo season. And one of the things about this to look at is, this is what I call a fire mermaids, right? It's this energy of being able to hold the flame while you're immersed in water. And so for those of you that have a lot of fire and water in your birth chart, you are naturally like this fire mermaid, here to bring the warmth and the connection to emotions and emotional intelligence to the people. And in your own life, of course, we come into this life to experience lessons. None of us would be here if we didn't have lessons to learn. And life is a continual path of those lessons. And if you have a lot of fire and water in your chart, you'll resonate with what I'm talking about, because this is very much a time where it's highlighting this water and this fire. And so if you're just joining, I would like to say hello. If you want to type your first name in the chat, I will be pulling cards at the end here on the live. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the importance of Mary Magdalene and where and how she shows up in your natal chart and what this means. So I was just talking about this cusp of Cancer and Leo, and that is where she shows up in your natal chart. So wherever that moon and the sun merge, the point between Cancer and Leo is your divine union point. It's your magician. It is ultimately our goal as humans on the planet to be in divine balance with our masculine and feminine within ourselves. It doesn't mean it's always going to be equal. It means it's going to have some balance to it. And there are the majority of people on the planet, right, have an unhealthy relationship to either their masculine and feminine, or feminine, or both, because of our experiences here on planet Earth. Because women have been conditioned to believe that they are lesser than, that their bodies aren't lovable, that there's something wrong or that they should feel more guilt or shame about loving their bodies. And of course, this is changing, but this has been the spell that we've been under for too long, right? And the spell is breaking. And as we all come into this consciousness higher and higher and at a greater velocity, and we see each other doing it and all different flavors of this journey and awakening to the divine feminine energy and the balance of the masculine and feminine, what happens is that spell breaks and that lineage changes. And so I wanted to speak to you about this path of Mary Magdalene, the lineage of the rose, how important this is. And so if you're joining me, please type in the chat. Let me know if you're feeling the sacredness of today, if you woke up just with a little bit of extra zing today. It is Venus Day. It is 7/22/22. And this is the Feast of Mary Magdalene. It's always every year a day to celebrate her and celebrate her within us, within each and every one of us, no matter your gender, no matter what you associate with, if you're more masculine or feminine, whatever. This is the day to celebrate the feminine within us. And although it happens every year, this year is a little bit special because it falls on Friday, which is Venus's day. And Venus and Mary Magdalene are very much connected. So this will be especially resonant to you if your natal Venus makes any kind of connection to this point. The last few degrees of Cancer or the first few degrees of Leo, and or if you have your Venus in that place in your chart. So Venus is very much connected to Mary Magdalene, and it is, historically, her name has been dragged through the dirt. And what happened was we were conditioned to believe that the temple was a church or a structure that was devoted to the masculine and an unhealthy connection to the masculine. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, nowhere in there is the mother, right? And so we've left behind the divine feminine energy. And because of this, our earth and our connection to the earth and our health and our well-being has significantly been degraded. So many women lose their womb space. Many women have painful sex, all of these issues related to the disconnection to the temple being within the feminine body. That the temple, the original, the OG temple is the yoni, is the womb space. And if you look at any divine feminine leader out there in the world right now, you can't get very far in that leadership if there is guilt, shame, or any kind of embarrassment around your yoni, your womb space, and your connection to your own temple. And so if you look around and you look at divine feminine leaders, the one thing that you'll see in common, even though everyone has their own unique flavor, is an adoration and a divine love of the portal, of the pathway, of the temple that creates life. And this is the shift that we're all coming into. And this is the Mary Magdalene shift, is that when her name is no longer dragged through the dirt and no longer associated with this idea of prostitution, this idea of, giving out her body to every single one of, human, it's like this shift happens where we start to understand and see her as this divine keeper of the feminine. That's when the shift happens. And that's what's happening in a large way, even though it might seem unrelated. It's very related to this theme, to this topic, because she was the one that was taken out of the church. She was the one that was taken out of the Bible. She was the one that was removed. And so when we put her back in, we are putting the divine feminine back in. And when we put the divine feminine back in, we are able to access that divine union within. A healthy relationship to our feminine, a healthy relationship to our masculine. So this is why I'm hosting a free masterclass next week called Heal the Feminine, because each and every one of us, no matter your gender, has issues and coding that we've picked up from the programming, from the conditioning that seeks to keep the feminine disempowered, that seeks to keep the feminine in the shadow, because when she is in the shadow, those in power can derive power from her, can take from that shadow energy. But when we bring her into the light and when we heal our own relationship to our own feminine, and I'm not talking about, the pseudo feminine of like going to get your nails done and resting. Like, that's not just what the feminine is, right? We want to always categorize things in a very simplistic way. No, we're talking about the union of both, and allowing for the space for our emotions, allowing for the space for our intuition to shine, allowing for the trust of self, allowing for our desires to come to life. This is the path of the priestess, and it's been held away from us for far too long. So when I pulled the magician card and it's a feminine representation of the magician, I was like, yes, this is the energy that we're stepping into. And it is each and every one of us' own responsibility to do our own healing work, to go from micro to macro, to bring that healing to the world. And it is often the case that the most powerful people on our planet are the ones that have the most work to do, to transmute, to be a magician of their own life, because they have so much power. And many times it has been stifled and sent away to the shadow. But when you bring it back to the light, that's when your true leadership ignites. And this is my feminine leadership program, which is all about activating and pulling out those pieces, bringing them out from the shadow so that you can shine and take up more space in your own damn life so that you can lead other feminines and masculines. So I'm very passionate about this. Hi, if you're just joining. If you want to type your first name in the chat, I'm going to be pulling cards in a minute. If you've been patient and you've been on here, thank you. And so I talked about the free workshop that I'm doing next week. If you are not on there already, the link is in my profile. Hi, Rachel. I also have Feminine Leadership that's starting August 26th. And it's a 13-week journey through your astrological birth chart, through the archetypes of the feminine, to integrate and ignite that feminine power within you. And I also have, very much connected to today, the Get Your Creative Juices Flowing, which I'm going to do in special offer just for today. It's usually 111. I'm going to do it at 88 today. I haven't done that yet, but I'll post it to my story. But it's very much about these cycles of creation. And that's the point that we're at right now. It's like, what are you going to create? Here's what you've been handed. Here's the parents that you got. Here's the people in your life, the teachers, the people who maybe didn't teach you in a way that was helpful. Here's the hand you've been dealt. How are you going to transmute it and make magic out of it? How are you going to take it and make it the initiations that lead you to who you truly are, what you have to share, what's on your heart, what you can help others with? This is the path of the feminine. And if you're here, I just want to applaud you, because it is not a popular path. Owning our stuff and moving away from the titles, the identification with our wounds, the identification of the victimhood. It's not an easy path, and not many take it. And so it can be a lonely path. But it is the path of the feminine and the divine feminine. And one of the things about Mary Magdalene is she's very much connected to the Rose lineage. If you don't know much about the Rose lineage, it's a great time to learn more about it. One thing that we know is that Venus makes this dance through the cosmos, and she creates this five-pointed connection that looks like a rose, that is very much connected to the rose. And roses vibrate at a frequency of 320 megahertz. The human body registers typically anywhere from 62, a healthy person, 62 to 68 megahertz. Okay, so the density of being human, the density of getting handed your deck, like your cards, and having to deal with life and having to be here in this density, it can only become lighter. It can only become something that is like your magician wand when you learn how to tap into energies that are a higher vibration. And one of those things is roses. Roses vibrate at 320 megahertz. And there is great significance to the rose lineage that I don't have time to go into here. Hi, Savannah. I don't have time to go into here, but basically all of my teachings come from the lineage of the rose. And it is the feminine path. It is something that I've studied for many years. It is something that is so sacred that it can't really be housed. Like the magic can't really be housed on a man-made structure such as like social media or Instagram or Facebook, whatever. It can't be housed there. So the containers that I create for us to dive into this medicine, transmute, transcend, rise above, bring that medicine to the people is in a separate container, either one-on-one coaching with me, or I have an amazing new thing that I'm going to talk a lot more about, and I'm not going to spend time talking about it here. In the free masterclass that I have next week, I'll be talking about a very special offer that I have to tap into not only the one-on-one work with me, but also the group courses that go into this rose medicine, that go into the divine feminine medicine to uplift your life and help others to uplift their life as well. So if you're just tapping in here, hello, type your first name in the chat if you'd like me to pull you a card. And I do want to talk about one more thing before we move into that. So we also want to be aware of this divine feminine connection to the cycles of creation. A rose isn't always in bloom, and so it starts as a tiny, tiny little bud. It reaches its fruition, and then it releases and it destroys. And so there's very, very much a connection with this divine feminine energy of the cycles of creation. And this I go into in Get Your Creative Juices Flowing. I'm going to put it on sale today. It'll be in my story. And I think it's like 120 minutes with me talking about these different cycles of creation from the perspective of the divine feminine and how it's connected to the rose lineage. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to pull cards in a minute. Okay, so basically, any of this energy that we want to see out in the world, right? We have to learn how to cultivate and grow within us. And this is how Mary Magdalene shows up in our DNA, in our brain, and how we can tap into her energy within us. It's the most powerful thing. Anything that is of significance in the universe that inspires you or brings about inspiration lives within you as well, and vice versa. So you really want to understand that anything that you see outside of yourself, like a divine feminine standing in her power or rising, that lives within you too. And so it's really powerful to remember that when we're on sites such as social media, because the thing that has kept the feminine from rising is isolation and separation. It's when the circle of women come together and uplift each other that the whole world shifts. And this is what was taken away, was this ability to connect, this ability to co-create, this ability to circle. And we want to bring that back. And so remembering that when you're feeling isolated, when you're feeling like you want to judge or criticize, and we're going to go into that in the Feminine Healing 3-day masterclass that's happening next week. I hope to see you all in there. If you don't know much about it, click the link in my profile and you can hop into that free training with me.